Well, a key member of the world-renowned Hughes family is Jason Hughes, and he joins us here in the Branson studio with Bot Radio Network. Hi, friends. I'm Byron Tyler, and we have been having a wonderful time here in Branson talking about shows, entertainment, and really for the summer vacation fun that you can have with your family, making those memories that last a lifetime. And we hope that you will discover Branson and make it part of your plans for this summer vacation. But when you're here, you definitely want to see the Hughes Music Show, which is a very high-energy, family-friendly production that showcases over 50 family members. That's right, I said 50, over 50. How many is it now, Jason?
Well, it varies day to day, depending on which baby's sleeping backstage or who's expecting. But yeah, approximately 50.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell me, how did your early experiences shape your passion for music and performance today, do you feel like, growing up as a Hughes?
Yeah. Well, I think when I was little, both my mother and my father both were pretty musical, and so that's kind of where it started for us. My dad sang with the Tabernacle Choir. Actually, I think that might have even been a little bit before I was born, but he always had this just huge voice. And
is he bass, baritone, tenor?
I would say technically he's probably a baritone, but he had a huge range.
Yeah.
In fact, he always wanted to audition for the Tabernacle Choir, but he was afraid, so he decided a good way to get in might be to take some private singing lessons from the conductor.
Right.
Which he signed up for some singing lessons with Gerald Otley, who was the conductor of the choir back then. And it was pretty funny because he told him that he was a tenor because he figured that tenors were harder to come by,
right?
And that he'd have better chance to get into the choir as a tenor. And so for weeks they had their lessons, and Gerald would take him on the scales up the piano, and he didn't really go down too far. But then one day he decided he'd just go down, 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 down. And he just went down to like a low C. And then he turned to my dad, and immediately when he said that, he goes, "Gary, we're in really need of some low basses in the choir. Would you consider auditioning?" That's how he got in the choir.
That was the way he did it.
Because he sang this low note that, and actually having a low bass is much less common than having a high tenor.
Yeah. So was this something that pretty much all your brothers you kind of picked up? I mean, music has really been from the earliest days, right?
Yeah, it was. But of course, we were also involved in sports and a lot of other things too. My dad also was a baseball coach when we were growing up, and so we were always playing ball, and he was reffing basketball, so we were all playing basketball too.
Yeah. So what kind of coach was he? It could be tough being a dad and a coach too. You're around the dinner table at night, and he goes, "Jason, you could have caught that ball. You should have done that." I mean, was he an encourager type coach, or was?
No, he really was. He was, but he was pretty. He was actually pretty technical. As far as just giving the how-tos of how to throw the ball and what to do. And he was a pitcher when he was a kid. Grew up in Nevada, and very small school. And they back then they didn't have the different ratings for the schools, the 4A and the 1A schools. So his school would have been a 1A school, but they went to the state competition competing against the 4A schools.
Nice.
But won the state championship over guys that were just a lot bigger, but it was mainly because Dad was such a great pitcher.
Wow.
Yeah.
The Hughes Music Show, Jason, you guys are known for such diverse musical genres. How do you and your family members prepare to perform in such a wide array of styles? That's got to be trying to keep all of that together.
Yeah, well, our experience growing up was pretty broad when it came to music. Again, our Dad had this collection of records, but it was like super eclectic. I mean, just everything from like opera to great choral music, and he didn't have very much musical theater, but he had a lot of different harmony things, and I remember one of his favorite things to play was an old Roger Whittaker album, and so we just loved all kinds of music. Growing up. But then when we first started to perform, we were exposed to a lot of different. We got involved with a wonderful vocal coach, that Dean Kalin, and he had studied with a guy named Seth Riggs.
Okay.
That actually he's one of the big vocal coaches in Los Angeles, and he was a vocal coach for Michael Jackson and Stevie Wonder and a bunch of huge names. He started to work with us, and then we also had a choreographer that started to work with us around the same time.
Yeah, and
she had a lot of musical theater background, and between the two of them, we just suddenly were exposed to so many other things. So the first show that we ever did was this like variety show. And so we did country music, everything from pop, rock and roll, country to barbershop.
Yeah.
That's kind of was our introduction.
Do you remember that very, very first stage performance? And where was that and when was that here in Branson?
Oh, here in Branson.
Yeah.
Well, we came to Branson actually before we moved to Branson. I'm not 100% sure if our first performance was out at Silver Dollar City, or they hired us to audition,
right?
Which was a different experience, because most times you don't get paid to audition.
So you got paid to audition, yeah.
Yeah, so that was pretty sweet. I think that I'm not 100% sure if that was the first performance that we did here, because there was also a what was that? It was like a competition that we did in Las Vegas that brought us out to Nashville to record an album. But then the guys that ran the competition were here also.
Right.
And so we ended up doing like a little performance for that too, but I don't remember what.
So there wasn't really
first.
Initial plans that we're going to move the Hughes family to Branson. That was not part of the plan.
No, not to begin with. I mean, we knew that it was a possibility, and it seemed like it would be cool to have an opportunity to move here. But we auditioned for Silver Dollar City, and then they hired us for the next year. Then it was decision time. Then it was like, okay, well, they're hiring us just for the summer, and so what do we do? Do we like sell the family business and all moved to Branson on just a 3-month contract?
Right.
But we decided to do that. If we're ever going to make it in show business, might as well just go for it and see what happens.
And that was a time too when Branson pretty much after the fall season shut down, right?
Yeah.
And was shut down till the spring, several months.
Well, actually, by the time we came, Christmas season was.
That was still part of.
Yeah, it was still. It had become it wasn't too many years before that, but Andy Williams had done some Christmas specials, and as well as Shoji Tabuchi, and Branson. The Christmas season became one of the biggest parts of the year, actually.
Right.
And so we happened to do the summer, and then the Osmonds hired us to open for them for like a week. They weren't sure how long they were going to have us to begin with, and but that was back. Wayne Osmond had a brain tumor.
Yes,
and so he was out getting taken care of. And then the second generation Osmonds were also. I think they were like filming in a movie or something like that they were out for.
Yeah,
and so they hired us to open for them for just. We did actually when they hired us, we didn't know how long we were going to be there, but I think it just turned out maybe 2 weeks.
Okay.
And but that was just long enough for another theater owner to see us and be interested. He had just purchased back then what was the Rashler Theater, which then turned into the Wild West Theater, and now it was Jesus is Homeless, which is they turned it into kind of a charitable organization for homeless
people. Here in town.
Yeah.
What about this Song and Stage Boot Camp? Are you involved with that?
Yeah, I guess I'm technically the director of the Song and Stage Boot Camp. Something,
Is that something year round, or is that just during the summertime?
It's just in the summertime, and it's only one weekend. It was a 5-day camp. We turned it into a 3-day camp last year, just for scheduling reasons. But it's been fantastic, and we've typically had 50 to 60 kids that come.
And what about their ages?
The youngest that we've had was 6 years old, and we've had adults come that were 30 years old. But typically, I would say 99% of the kids are probably between the ages of like maybe 8 and 18.
So what do you enjoy most about this boot camp, and why has it been important for you to make sure it goes on and direct it and see there's participation? Yeah,
well, for us, many years ago, I heard this. Actually, it might have even been on. It might have been on Bot Radio that I heard this on. I think it was Focus on the Family.
Okay.
That I was listening to, and they were throwing out some statistics about different professions that believed in God. Mm-hmm. They'd done a survey, and it was surprising. They went like lawyers. Like 85% of lawyers believe in God, and they went through a lot of professions that you'd think like, well, that was surprising that was that high of a percentage.
Right.
But when they got to the media, it was only 5% that believed, and that just really hit me. I thought, that's terrible, mm-hmm. and so I think that just really motivated me to want to change that. But when I thought about it, I thought, I had so many friends that were so talented growing up, high school and college and things, and but so many of them decided not to go into the business because, first of all, it's a hard business. It's hard to make money in show business. So that's one reason. But the other reason was they were afraid that they were going to be influenced or to change their values and their morals.
Right.
And so a lot of them just didn't go into it for those reasons. But then also I had a lot of friends that did go into it that ended up being highly affected in a bad way,
right? Yeah,
by the business. And so boot camp, the primary purpose of the boot camp is to try to teach these kids the skills and the abilities that they need to be successful.
Right.
That anyone would need to have being successful in show business, but also teaching them that you can do it without compromising your values, and then introducing them to people who are doing it, that are good, moral people.
Yeah.
That aren't asking them to change.
So are you recruiting participants from the local area, or do people come across the states to come to the camp?
Yeah, we've had kids come as far as from California, and we've had instructors come from as far as like Virginia and different places, New York. Most of the people, though, come from probably within 5 hours, I guess.
Yeah.
Probably. And then 15 to 20 of the kids are usually Hughes kids involved also.
Yeah.
Because, of course, when we bring in all these professionals that are at the top of their game, we also love to
include them.
Let our kids experience that also.
You want to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Hughes Music Show, what's the summer look like for you guys? What's on stage at the Hughes Brothers Theater right now?
Yeah, the Hughes Music Show, that's our big show with the whole family in it. And that plays, let's see here, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday evenings at 8 o'clock.
Okay.
And then we also have the Hughes Brothers Country Show. It's kind of our retro show where we do the things, all the
put the boots on the cowboy
country
hats,
songs,
right?
and do the things that brought us to Branson.
Yeah.
And that show plays once a week during the summer on Monday afternoon at 2 o'clock. And then our kids are doing Revibe.
Yeah.
And it's a high energy
totally
show. This year they're doing a dinner show. So it starts at 5 o'clock, and that plays Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday evening at 5 o'clock.
Okay. Before your evening show at 8 o'clock.
Yeah. Then we also have the Ball Numbers that are also in our theater.
That's right.
Doing a fabulous job. Second year in the theater, but 66 years.
Oh,
in
my
Branson.
goodness. Yeah. Wow.
And longest running show. It's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
And then we also have a wonderful magic show, Escape Reality. And they're fantastic. They do a couple of the dinner shows also.
Right.
And then they do some matinees.
So tickets, website, what should we do?
Yeah, you can call the theater. It's 1-800-334-0076.
And Jason, as we wrap up here, one last question. As you have your guests come into the theater and they get to see the thrilling Hughes Music Show or whatever they come and experience at your theater, what do you hope they will take away with them when they leave?
Well, our goal always is that people will leave with a little more love in their heart, love for their family, love for their country, and love for our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.
Yes.
Yeah.
Jason, it is always good to see you, my friend. Happy summer to you. Try to stay cool, I guess. A lot of lemonade. You like lemonade?
I love lemonade. What I like to do is I'll get that. I don't forget even what brand it is, but I'll buy a whole gallon of lemonade at Walmart, and I'll take it and I'll just drink a little tiny bit out of the top, and then I'll stick it in the freezer. And just before it gets solid, and it's just kind of slushy.
Yeah.
Oh, that is perfect.
Oh, it sounds so. You got me thinking about that now. Jason, thank you so much for joining Bot Radio. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Well, friends, as we wrap up our show here in Branson, a great time here with Jason Hughes. Hope you will stop by the Hughes Music Show and see what they have. And come see what Branson has. Branson has so much to offer with over 100 live shows ranging from musical tributes to magic acts, comedy. I mean, it's all right here. You can cool off by Table Rock Lake. I mean, there's so much to do. Dining options, I mean, something for every taste bud is available here in Branson. But just come and enjoy yourself. Thanks for listening.